Welcome to this video on the topic of advanced trigonometry. In this video we'll be having a look at how we can solve equations that involve the trig functions. Now there can be multiple solutions for equations involving trig functions. For example, the sine function outputs a value of a half when theta is equal to 30 degrees and again when it's equal to 150 degrees. This is illustrated with the math shown here. So what you can see that sine 30 degrees is equal to a half. So if you put this in the calculator, you'll get a half. And similarly, if you put sine 150 degrees in your calculator, you'll also get a half. Now, based on this relationship here, what we can see is that if we set the angle itself to x and the output to a half, we go sine x equals a half. Rearranging for x, we're going to get x equals inverse sine of a half. And we know that the values for these are going to be 30 degrees and 150 degrees. So there'll be two solutions here. However, the problem arises when we actually use this in our calculators. So we bring up our calculators and we put in inverse sine of 1 over 2. What you're going to find is the calculator is only going to tell us the first solution to these problems, even though we know if we put in sine of 150, it will also be a half. So what we're going to look at in this particular lesson here is how we can find the second solution to equations that involve trig functions. Now the way in which we can do this is we can look back to our previous lesson about the symmetry or about the unit circle. And what we defined was we defined the interior angle of the triangle that's represented in the unit circle. We defined that as phi. And then we had a look at the relationship between phi and theta. Theta being the angle that sweeps around the unit circle. So this red angle here, 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 and here. Now what we're going to do in this lesson to be able to solve trig equations is we're going to look at the opposite relationship. So rather than looking at the internal angle of the triangle, what we're going to look at is the value of theta in terms of phi. So in the first quadrant, theta will equal phi. For the second, theta will equal 180 degrees, take phi. For the third quadrant, theta will equal phi plus 180 degrees. And finally, for the fourth quadrant, theta will equal 360 degrees minus phi.